36,000 feet. And today we're going to talk about important topics in corporate travel. And I have with me today Beth Fortin, an agent with Travel Leaders, Carolyn Vu, who's one of our Travel Leaders clients, and Carrie Hanrahan, who's a corporate travel account manager. And we're going to be talking about three different topics. We're going to first talk about things that travel agents can do to save our clients money. We're going to talk about what happens when there's a tragedy during a trip and how do we respond to that to help our clients. And then we're going to talk about when things go wrong in a trip, like weather interruptions or some type of maybe a terrorism event, and how we can help our clients deal with that type of thing to get them home safe. So I think we'll start with talking about things we do to save our clients money. And I think that most people know that if you buy an airline ticket far in advance, you're going to get a better fare. But we always wonder, well, what happens if the fare goes down? Do we have a way of knowing when that kind of thing happens? And if so, can we do something with it?
Absolutely. I recently had a client that purchased a ticket, international business class, for $9,999. We have a quality control product that sweeps the fares every single day, checks them to see if they drop. And the airfare actually dropped by $3,000. I was able to reissue the ticket and give the customer a voucher for his next trip to apply it. And if he would have done that directly through the airline, he never, ever would have known that fare had dropped.
The airlines don't contact the traveler and say, yeah, the fare went down, we're going to save you $3,000?
No.
But what about hotels? Does that happen with hotels as well?
It does.
Yeah, our product actually, it sweeps air, car, and hotel. So if a hotel drops, we notify our client to offer them the lower rate and also with the car. And so all the way up until 24 hours prior to departure, if that hotel drops, we're still able to change it to the lower rate and offer our client a savings.
Does that happen very often where the fare goes down or the hotel rate goes down?
Happens on a daily basis. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's not always significant, $3,000, but sometimes it's $500 or $200, and it depends on the airline's policy for reissuing, of how we can reissue it if we can.
I heard about an occasion where a traveler had bought a business class ticket and the airline put a one-day sale into that market and the fare dropped by $6,000. And that's a phone call I would have liked to have made to that traveler and said, guess what? You're going to be on the same flight, same seats, but it's now going to save you $6,000 over what it was. So
Right.
it's a great technology to have. Let's move on to an example of when maybe something goes horribly wrong in a trip, like some type of a tragedy. Now, Carolyn, you had an experience in your company with something like that, didn't you?
Yes, we did. We have an associate that was traveling overseas, and they passed away. And luckily, on our end, they were also traveling with another associate. So that associate was able to alert the company and the family and travel leaders. And there was a lot of paperwork that they needed to do. Like, for instance, was it a business trip? Was it a personal trip and whatnot? And because they booked through travel leaders, they were able to confirm that it was a travel expense and whatnot. And that kind of helped along with the paperwork and getting the body back and being able just to help our company be able to, support our divisions and making our choices on, traveling and whatnot. It's just the care that we got from travel leaders and how prompt they respond to situations like that helped us a lot.
Was there any change in your company? I know that your company has never mandated that people use the travel agency and travel leaders in particular. Does that change the way they're thinking when people maybe didn't realize how important it was if something like that goes wrong, that you need to be able to find out where they are so that you can notify their loved ones or whatever?
Yes. Actually, not too long ago, we have a location in Manchester, England, and there was a concert bombing there. And we knew that we had some travelers there, but we didn't know when they're flying in or flying out or whatnot. And because we were using travel leaders, and we were able to track them. Like, oh, yes, they already left. They left hours before that happened, or they're not leaving until later. And so that did spark people to want to be part of travel leaders and book their flights with travel leaders just for that safety issues of not knowing, if there's like any incidents happening elsewhere in the world when they're traveling and whatnot.
Well, let's move on to weather issues. Seems like it happens more and more where there are significant weather events and people get stranded. Can we maybe talk about some examples of things that you might have done or are aware of where a traveler was stranded and maybe wouldn't have made a meeting if you hadn't done something creative or thought outside the box to get them where they needed to go?
I had a customer that was in Amsterdam during the volcanic ash, and he needed to be in London for an important meeting. And he called me and said, "What am I going to do? My flight's been canceled." I quick jumped on the Rail Europe site, grabbed him a ticket on Rail Europe and said, "If your flight doesn't go, I have you confirmed on a rail ticket." And he made his meeting.
So that actually impacted his business by being able to make the meeting.
Absolutely, yes.
Are there any other weather events, examples like that you can think of where someone was significantly impacted? And one comes to mind I can think of where we had a traveler that was stranded in Paris with the volcanic ash, and he was told by the airline it was going to be a week before he could get home. And he was going to be coming home in coach even though he had bought a business class ticket because that's all there was. And he reached out to one of our agents, and she got him home the next day in business class. And he happened to have an associate with him that had bought his ticket directly from the airline. And he said, "Can you help my associate, even though he didn't buy his ticket from us?" And guess what we told him?
Yes.
We said, "Of course we will." And we got him on the same flight. So he's been a client ever since. So,
Well, in using travel leaders and our creative ways, if you're just working with that airline and that traveler goes to the airline, they're predominantly just looking at what that airline can do for them. So we can't get you out for a week. However, by calling the agent, they're able to look at all of the airlines and the availability and offer them the next available flight. So that's a difference between just working directly with the one airline versus working with your travel agent and offering other options.
Yes, that is very important. I do all of my bookings through an agent versus online, just for that, because I like the people, connection and whatnot. And what I'm able to see online, the agent's able to see more, and so because of that, they're able to save us money. They are able to find us a better route of traveling and whatnot. And so just having that person there, just talking to that person and telling them what you want and whatnot, and having it delivered, that's great service.
and what sometimes people don't realize that if you book a ticket online, that if it's an international ticket, that sometimes by issuing more than one ticket, you get a lower fare.
Mm-hmm.
The online products don't know how to do that.
Right.
So an agent, that experience of knowing how you can break the fare to get it lower, it's invaluable. So.
Yes.
Correct. I even, an example yesterday, I had a client and she was looking at British Airways from Minneapolis to Charles de Gaulle, and then Jet Airways from Paris to Minneapolis. And it wasn't able to price. And I had to explain to her that British Airways was really American, Jet Airways is really Delta, and they don't have ticketing agreements. And by explaining that to her and giving her a Delta Direct option and in the savings too, so just sticking with one airline, it was $3,600 versus $7,800 with two different airlines because it's two one-ways. So, by speaking to an expert and, sharing those insights on how we can save that client money, it has a big impact, and they appreciate it in the end too. And educating them that even though that you're using the online booking tool, it's a great enhancement. However, speaking to an expert can, it has a significance to it at times, especially with international, I would say.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Now, Caroline, I believe your company has a rule in place where anytime a ticket is over $1,500, if a traveler books it online, it falls into a special queue so that an agent actually looks at it. And the year that they put that policy in place, think it saved your company like $20,000.
Yes, yes, yeah. And we try to tell our folks to, if they're traveling on like overseas and whatnot, to call an agent, because an agent, like you said, they're experts and they know the little tricks and whatnot to be able to get to where they're going and all the savings and just travel arrangements and whatnot. Yeah, it is great to have somebody caring for our folks too, just besides ourselves.
And it's not necessarily about the spend.
Mm-hmm.
It's really what travel leaders can offer for a savings. What can we do for a return on your investment? And that's really the ultimate goal for our agency is, taking care of that portion of the savings. That's where I get really excited, is when I can go into a client and let them know that I was able to save them, year over year, thousands of dollars.
Yes.
By using certain products or, even the air reductions and the hotel reductions. And, we have a way of tracking, savings throughout where the agents deliver that information, and then communicating that back to the company. And it's exciting. It's so exciting for you as a client, to say, oh, we were able to save you, $25,000 just in
one
area.
One of the things that I love about your service is I get like monthly reports of unused tickets. And the thing is that you're thinking, oh my gosh, okay, I have to reach out to this traveler and tell them, okay, you have $1,200 that you need to use up by next May. Well, the great thing about travel leaders is they automatically apply it to their next flight without even having to afford the traveler to call them and says, hey, keep an eye out. I have this unused ticket out there. Travel leaders takes care of all of that for us. And it's like a one-stop shop. And that's one of the greatest service that, you guys provide our folks.
Right, absolutely. And, and even working with our preferred vendors too. And, having the ability to, let's say that traveler wasn't able to go or no longer with the company, and we're able to work with the airline and get a name correction on that ticket.
Yes. Right.
And so that it's not a complete loss for your company.
No.
Whereas a travel management company, we oversee that, we watch that, and offer that to you. Whereas, an airline, or if they're booking it on their own and they leave the company, they might be able to use that ticket on a vacation or something because it's not being monitored. Where it's
Absolutely.
we're the watchdog for, the advocate for you as a client.
Well, thanks everyone for your contribution today, and stay tuned for the next edition of View from 36,000 Feet.